Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of What the Art History. And today we're going to be talking about coins. So you might be wondering to yourself, well, how are coins art? I'm so glad that you asked. Coins, just like pretty much anything, touch on the idea that art is all around us and can be found in everything. With the right understanding and skill basis, you can analyze almost everything as if it were an art history masterpiece. So, coins typically are studied in art history, but more for ancient art. Coins were a really easy way for powerful figures to depict themselves ideally, conveying their beliefs and ensuring that their uniform image campaign was seen by all at every class level. Coins were easy partially because of how common they were, but the coins themselves were powerful, not because of the mass amount of them or the people having access to them, but the fact that they conveyed value. So, a strong value coin further strengthened the political claims of the people depicted on them. So, let's start with an ancient coin of Queen Cleopatra VII. So, in this picture here, we see the obverse and the reverse of the coin. So this is a coin of Queen Cleopatra and baby Ptolemy the 15th Caesar, also known as Caesarion, which means little Caesar. Yes, that is her baby with Julius Caesar. And then on the back of the coin, we see a double cornucopia bound with a fillet. So this was minted at the Paphos Mint in about 47 BC. There is a lot to uncover here in this coin, which you might be thinking to yourself, well, what does it matter? It's a coin. But there's a lot of strong imagery being conveyed here. So let's start with the reverse. So we have the two cornucopia. So the two cornucopia, this was a symbol that the Ptolemies used to depict bounty. So you think of the cornucopia kind of like um, for Thanksgiving and how it has like all this food filling out. That's a really similar idea to what the cornucopia represented in antiquity as well in Ptolemaic Egypt. So there are two of these. It's horns of plenty, copious. These are some words to describe these two cornucopia. They represent fertility, bounty, and they convey that under Cleopatra's rule, Egypt is this fertile, bountiful land that can provide ample for its citizens, and that all of this is happening partially because of her rule, who she is, and her influence on Egypt itself. So the other thing too, why are there two? It's a really great question. So when you look at carvings of pharaohs, they often have the double crown. The reason is because Egypt, like a lot of different places in the world, used to be two kingdoms. So you had Upper Egypt in the south, and then you had Lower Egypt in the north. So the double crown on in hieroglyphs and in carvings represents the unified kingdom of Egypt. And so these double cornucopia are also doing the same thing. So they're representing one for Upper Egypt, one for Lower Egypt. And the reason why Upper Egypt is in the south and Lower Egypt is in the north is because of the way that the Nile flows. So you have to keep that in mind. So that is a Ptolemaic symbol right there. So another thing too that we can see is Arsinoe II. She was a very famous Ptolemaic queen. She was really famous. She really started to empower the Ptolemaic women in their dynasty, and she depicted herself on coins. After she died, her husband deified her officially, and he incorporated her more strongly onto coins with busts and with funerary imagery as well. So there's this idea at this time, it's mos maiorum, which is Latin, and it refers to these ideas of the customs of your ancestors and that there's kind of like something greater than you. So it's kind of like being traditional, respecting your past, respecting your heritage. So Cleopatra, through using the double cornucopia, she's doing that. She's aligning herself with her Ptolemaic ancestors. She, as a female ruler of Egypt, she's aligning herself with the past Ptolemaic queens, namely Arsinoe II. So that's what she's doing there. So now we're going to look a little bit more at the profile. So we see Cleopatra the seventh, and she's holding her baby. She's wearing a diadem, which is a crown. That's what the Ptolemies wore. That was their crown. And she has a very specific hairstyle. So these are Ptolemaic images and imagery. So if you look at her cheek, you can see that her cheek looks really full. And the reason is this is intentional. So there's this idea of Ptolemaic power. It's called tryphy. And what it refers to is luxury to access as means of demonstrating power. So basically, if you had jowls or neck folds as a Ptolemy, it represented your power, it represented your luxury. It's luxurious to have fat at this time. It means that you have access to stable food, you have access to a really nutrient rich diet, which a lot of people at the time in ancient times didn't. So having this bountiful, this plenty that's reflected in your appearance shows your power, shows that you're wealthy, you're powerful, and in a sense that you're luxurious because you can afford the luxury of overeating or eating a lot. The diadem, as I talked about, is the marking of a king. This is a Ptolemy imagery. It's a Ptolemy symbol. There also is the corkscrew locks, which is a hairstyle that the Ptolemies used. They also had some other hairstyles as well, but this is one that kind of like having curly hair because the Ptolemies, while they were Egyptian, technically in terms of being born in Egypt, they're culturally Egyptian in a sense. They were also Macedonian Greek. So these are ethnically Macedonian Greek people that are ruling Egypt. So they are going to look Greek. A lot of her coins really have this very prominent nose, a hooked nose. This is what Cleopatra was known for. So her nose is really large and it's hooked. And this is, first of all, identifying her. She has this image campaign that really emphasizes her large Greek hooked nose, but it's also a symbol of beauty at the time. And we also see that her eyes are really big, like they're really freakishly big. And the Ptolemies really liked to do this. They like to play with naturalism. They also like to play with emphasizing features. So they really liked these like bigger eyes and these bigger noses. And they also liked, like these fuller lips as well. So we can see the folds on her neck. We can see that she has jowls. We can see this really prominent nose. We can see these really big eyes. So now let's take a look a little bit more closely at what is going on, why she has a baby with her. So Caesarion was a political tool for Cleopatra. He was her heir, he was her son, and not only was he her son, he was also the son of Julius Caesar. So this is really powerful. She is asserting Caesar as her future of Egypt, but also there's a hint at him being the future of Rome as well. And this is going to be a problem in the future when she continues this image campaign. So she is using the future of Egypt, the reign of Egypt, the continuation of the Ptolemaic dynasty is going to be through her son. And her son isn't just a regular old kid. He's the son of the most powerful man in Rome. So it promotes this kind of vision of a future, And so beyond her son being Julius Caesar's son, she also is aligning herself with the divine. So Cleopatra referred to herself as the new Isis. So a lot of Ptolemaic and pharaohs, non-Ptolemaic pharaohs in Egypt, they believed themselves to be gods on earth. They were gods that were human, and when they died, their journey into the afterlife solidified their status as divinity. So Cleopatra is doing something really similar to what pharaohs before the Ptolemies did, as well as what the Ptolemies did themselves. She's branding herself as the new Isis. Isis was a really powerful Egyptian goddess. She was, in a sense, if you want to rely on the Greek pantheon, she was kind of like Hera. She was the sister wife of Osiris. She was the goddess of fertility as well as magic. So she's this really powerful goddess in Egypt. And she was really powerful at the time as well beyond Egypt. She was really powerful in Greece, throughout the Hellenistic world, and she was even getting a little popular in Rome as well. So she kind of was like this Venus, Hera kind of fused figure. And that was because there was a lot of fusion of Greek culture with Egyptian culture at the time. So there was like this really like diverse pantheon that was found in Egypt. So Cleopatra represented herself as the new Isis. And she does this as well by having, and she is continuing this new Isis fertility with her son. And her son Caesarion isn't just her son, but he's also Horus. And so this further strengthens not only her claim, where she's kind of representing herself more in like a beyond, like a pharaoh. She's like, I'm not just a pharaoh, I'm actually more than a pharaoh. Like, I am the mother of the pharaohs, I am the mother of Egypt. And my son will continue this as he is my son. He is Horus, he is Caesarion, he is the son of Julius Caesar, and he will continue this. He is powerful, he is my heir, he's my future. So she kind of like posits herself as like this divine mother. So she kind of goes beyond like I'm divine. I am, ascended from Horus to something even more. She's like, I'm more than that. I'm a divine goddess, which is really cool that Cleopatra did. So that is just like a quick intro into coin analysis. So now let's shift to coins today. So we can even analyze coins today that convey deeper ideals, beliefs, and representations of power and politics. So we can even take a look at the American quarter. So here we have the American quarter. This was designed by John Flanagan, and this specific quarter that we're showing is from 1995. And if you see a little bit close to that bow next to George Washington's hair, there's a D, and this refers to the Denver Mint. So actually on any coin in America, there's going to be either a D, an S, a P, or a W. So we have the Denver Mint, the San Francisco Mint, the Philadelphia Mint, and the West Point Mint. So these are the mints. And so this has been marked with D, so we know it's from the Denver Mint. So let's look at the bust of George Washington. So we have George Washington on this coin. This is a really strategic choice because George Washington was the first president. He's a symbol of America, and he's also one of the founding fathers of our country. But beyond him being president, he was also a really decorated war veteran and general. So through his bust, we're kind of thinking of the country's foundings. Right now, in 2026, we're coming up on about 250 years of our country. And on top his bust, you see liberty. So this is one of America's founding values, and it kind of functions to connect Washington to that liberty, that value. And so it evokes history. Next to Washington, we see "In God We Trust." So this phrasing actually was used in the Civil War for the Union side, and it was to kind of connect their fight against slavery as one that was ordained by God in a sense. And so this phrase continued through the Civil War, and it was kind of like unofficially used in the United States. And then in 1954, it was officially added onto all of our currency under Eisenhower. And the reason for this is it kind of functioned as an oppositionary stance to the USSR's atheist and anti-religious stance. So there's a lot that's going on in just "In God We Trust" simply being on a coin, the history behind it. So we can see that this is functioning as well to reflect America's values and our history, as well as this emphasis to, in a sense, you can argue this is a stance about religion, and it goes back to our First Amendment right of the freedom of religion. So even though God is specific to some religions, having it during the time period that it was added really kind of highlighted and strengthened America's freedom of religious stance and openness as compared to the USSR's really restrictive anti-religious stance. All right, so now we are going to go ahead and look on the other side of the coin. So here we see an eagle, and it has 13 arrows in its clutch. And then along the bottom, there's these olive branches. So a lot of this imagery comes from the seal of our country. So the eagle is a symbol of America. It represents freedom, strength, power, liberty, its values are associated with America, and they're really relevant to the country's foundings. And the eagle was selected in 1782 as the national bird. And we can even see the way that the eagle's wings are just long and they're expansive and they envelop the entire image. So that's also to show the power of this eagle of America is it has this very expansive long reach is what you can say. So another image of eagles comes from Rome. Ancient Rome, there was the eagle on the standards. So that's also kind of aligning America with something bigger. It's a symbol of the Roman Empire as well as the Roman Republic. So America is a republic, and they're kind of continuing this tradition of we are the longest republic in the world. We have been around for over 250 years. In 1995, we've been around for over 200 years, almost 200 years. Also having that symbol related to Rome, Rome's republic was a very powerful republic, and a lot of our government was based off of Rome's republic. And in a sense as well, the fact that America is one of the longest republics and democracies, continuing democracies in the world, is also really relevant because Rome as well functioned as a republic for 200 years. And America at this around 1995 is also something similar. So we do see this continuation of republic, and we're relying on history to kind of evoke that, not just a symbol of our country, but also something greater, connection to something larger. So the arrows themselves, the 13 arrows, are of war. So these represent the 13 colonies. But then the bottom, we have the olive branches, which represent power. So it functions to show that America is a country capable and ready for war, but we're dedicated to peace. And so this very strong image of the eagle representing the republic and the country and liberty and these founding values of our country, holding war but being enshrouded by peace, also asserts the military power and dominance of the country. And with the long wings, we could even argue that this goes beyond America and can be a image of the global influence that America has. And so finally, the last thing that we're going to look at here is the Latin at the top, e pluribus unum, which means out of many, one. And so this phrasing comes from the Great Seal, and it refers to all of the states that have their own governments, that have these state governments that can function, but being part of a one country. A lot of people joke that America is 50 countries all in one trench coat. And in a sense, that's kind of true. And e pluribus unum also kind of solidifies that by saying there are many, but together we are one. And so this is a really strong depiction of values, of politics, of power. And a lot of this power isn't just coming from the country itself, but also the fact that this is used in currency. People handle this money all the time. There are millions, if not billions, of quarters that have been minted and created where people are handling this transactions, they're handling this money for transactions in real time. And so that's really powerful. And so, yeah, that was like a cheeky little analysis of coins. So the key purpose of this episode was just to show you all how you can apply your knowledge and understanding in conjunction with art history skills and to find meaning in pretty much everything. Formal analysis is a way for you to engage more deeply with the media you consume, with art all around you, in graffiti, money, posters, album covers, anything. You can find deeper meaning behind everything, even if you took a picture of your pet or with your friends. And so one last thing as well, there is a current trend on TikTok that has emerged from these analyses of Norman Rockwell painting. Are pretending that their picture is a painting of his, and they're analyzing it frame by frame, object by object, subject by subject, detail by detail. And I really love this trend that's happening right now because I think it does a really great job at further conveying how integral these skills are and how you can use them in almost anything, and you can engage and find the deeper meaning in almost anything around you. So thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed, and bye. Thank you.